Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can take some old wood, a Makita track saw, your chop saw, and some Osmo hard wax oil and make a mountain sunrise wall piece like this. I will have a link in the description down below for both the Makita track saw that comes in a kit with the 5-foot track and some of this Osmo oil. It's good stuff. You can have Amazon send it right to you and start making your own. Okay, so for the sunrise piece, we're gonna have to cut a whole bunch of those little triangle pizza looking, skinny pizza looking shapes. So I'm gonna use the Makita track saw and my 5-foot track. I did this in the last video, so last time we did the starburst one, so I'm just kind of gonna review really quick here. I put 2 planks down just to hold the track flat, right? If I had the track here and I was trying to cut a piece, then it would just tilt back and forth and wouldn't give me a 90-degree cut. So I set one in behind, I set one on top, and we've got to set our depth first or we'll cut through our table. So I just put the track on here, find out where the depth is, just like that. Then I'm going to go from a corner right here and then make any kind of angle that I want. Slap the saw on. Now, look quick, let me point something out to you. In the last video, a lot of people were kind of asking, hey, what the heck, how come you don't clamp it down and stuff like that. Makita makes it where on the bottom of the track, they have this foam stuff. And and it holds it pretty good, to be real honest with you, okay? So it sets on there, and as long as you're not pushing the saw like over this way or over that way, and I kind of hold it down with my hand as well, it cuts straight. My blade is sharp. I always keep pretty sharp blades in my stuff. So it cuts through easy. You're not trying to like two-handed cut through it. And so you can see it's just a nice slide right across. So watch here. You can even see that I actually even pushed the board, but it didn't. The track was on top of the board and pushed the board. The track didn't move on top of the board. So I've cut that piece. Now I'll take this, and instead of going with the wide end over there, I'm gonna do the wide end here. And then what happens is I end up just kind of working my way through the board, cutting these little pieces. Like that. And then at the very end, I'll actually just go from corner to corner, whatever that ended up being, and that way I use all the wood. So I go right from that corner, right over to this corner. One last cut. Oh. And there, now I've taken my planks and I've cut a whole bunch of these skinny pizza pieces. And when I start putting them together, it's gonna make a pretty cool sunrise. So I'm gonna go through all of these now and cut a whole bunch of them. I've cut my planks. Like I've got these planks, they're all milled down to a 1/4 inch thick. They're all actually 5 inches wide right now. I'm cutting through them. But when I have my, let me show you something here. When I've got my board here, which what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure half. Sorry if I'm kind of in a rush. I gotta be somewhere in a little bit, so I'm kind of going at this a little quicker. So 34.5, that's 17.25 is gonna be my middle point. So I'm gonna go like this. And that's going to be my reference. I'm going to put the mountain on right here, probably 3 mountains, and then I want my sunrise to kind of spread out like that. So obviously the distance from here to here is 13, but from the corner to the center is 23. So I've gone and cut a bunch of different boards at different lengths. And then that way I'm not cutting them all at 24 where I have a whole bunch of scrap laying over the edge, and I'm not cutting them all at 13 where they're not quite making it on. So I've cut a whole bunch all the way in between to try and limit the amount of waste that I have. So I'll go cut those all really quick, then we'll come back and we're gonna nail this all on. Okay, now one of the fun parts. I'm gonna use the Page PL Premium. I'm gonna lay it down on the board here, and I'll start in the middle, putting my first piece on from this center point along that line, and then I basically just fan out in both directions. I've got the Makita pin nailer. And I like this one because it doesn't really show much of a hole. That's kind of the idea behind the pins, is it tacks it on and holds it in place while the glue is drying. And then after that, we can put our mountains on. The boards that I've got, I specifically chose them. Some of them are darker, some of them are lighter, and I'm gonna stagger those so it's kind of got a cool sunrise thing. You'll see what I'm talking about a little bit later. Okay, so I've nailed these all on, and now we want to trim these all off. We're saving a lot of time, same thing with the Starburst one, by not having to cut all of those individually. We're just going to leave them long and then use the track saw to trim these up afterwards. And we end up with a really nice straight line, and we end up saving ourselves a whole lot of time. I got a really cool sunrise. Everything's all nice and trim, nice and square, nice and flush. I'm gonna move on to the next stage. Okay, now this wood, I've actually decided to put a finish on. It's just really cool looking wood, and I want to try and amplify it, make it stand out a little bit more. So for stuff like this, I've actually been using Osmo. I'll put a link down below. I use this PolyX stuff. PolyX, I think that it stands for just many types of oils and waxes. So it's an oil wax. It's really important that you mix it up because the oil and the wax separate. So some of it's on the bottom and some of it's on the top. It gives you a really nice finish. And the nice thing about this oil wax is it really penetrates into the wood and really showcases the wood, you know, probably more than most products. Helps everything to stand out and look really good and shine. It's a nice finish too. Pretty durable, long lasting. Some of the cheapest stuff, I think it's like twice as expensive per square foot as a polyurethane or something like that. But man, it makes the wood shine. So there's a number of ways of applying this. I'm just going to rub it on with a rag actually. Try and work it in and kind of push it down into the grains. And you can see already how it's really making this wood pop out. And then they want this stuff to dry, you know, 8 to 12 hours. So I'm actually gonna end up leaving this overnight. I thought we were gonna finish this off, but yeah, this is the right choice. Look how good that makes it look. Look at that. Okay, last time I made one of these signs, we used the table saw to do the rabbet cut 7/8 by 7/8 for the trim around the border. This time we're actually going to use the router and the router table, because variety is the spice of life, and we're basically just going to, I've set the router bit up 3/4 of an inch, which is the height of our wood plus the plywood, and I'm just going to go in a bit, like 1/8 or 1/4 or something, just enough so that it sits over top and covers our border for us. There. And now we've got that nice little rabbet cut in there that's going to fit over top of our frame and just hide that edge. All right, so now it's time to put our trim around the edge. I've got my pieces now. I've painted them. They've got that rabbet cut in them. And they're just going to fit nice and snug over the top here. And then, you know, just like with the last one, instead of having just a flat border on there, which would be fine, but if you end up with any chips or cracks along the edge, the track saw really limits a lot of that. But let's say you don't have a track saw and you kind of hand cut all these and they're not quite exact, then essentially when you go and put this over top, that just hides a little bit and provides a nice border. So I'm going to cut these on 45-degree miters, put some glue inside this little rabbet cut here, set them on and tack them on with some 18-gauge brad nails. And then we'll have a border around the edge. Okay, so I have decided to go ahead and put some mountains on, and I think I'm going to use some white pieces. I'm going to start with some white anyways and see what they look like, and then I think I might stagger some brown in kind of as they go up, probably end up with 3 peaks. And pretty simple stuff, like there's going to be, I'm going to do it all at 45-degree angles. So there'll be 2 pieces that are the exact same size with opposite angles. I guess they wouldn't even be opposite angles. No, just 2 pieces. The same distance, so whatever I cut the first one, I can mimic and cut the exact same size on the other side. And then I'll start at the bottom here and just work my way out. I'll do a taller mountain in the middle and maybe 2 smaller ones on the side. So now if you're looking for a way to convince your wife or your husband that you need to buy a Makita track saw, you tell them, hey, I can start making some of these things and sell them and make enough money to pay for the track saw. Those saws just come in so handy and they make a real beautiful product.